Being a dad is hard. It's high stakes. It takes a toll on our self-worth, mental health, and can be lonely. But why would we ever want to do something so important in isolation? Legacy Makers, a conversation for dads, is quite simply two normal dads having conversations about, you guessed it, being a dad. The highs, the lows, and the learnings along the way. We are four dads. We want to remedy the deficiency we see in community for dads, and we want to ruthlessly encourage dads on their journey to build lasting legacy for the faces they love the most.
Legacy Makers, welcome back. Man, Eric, let me step back and paint the picture for this conversation before we dive in. I'll never forget David Salyers talking about creating, David Salyers, former vice president of marketing, Chick-fil-A, but he talked about creating moments, this like rite of passage with his kids when they got to a certain age. Mm-hmm. And we know that in the Jewish culture, these are commemorated pretty clearly, that the Bar Mitzvah and the Bat Mitzvah. And in Hispanic culture, for a girl, it's the quinceañera. So it's these moments. We can talk about coming of age things, but I'd like us to zoom out a little bit and think about the rhythms, the rites, the milestones as dads. What are they? How can we create them intentionally? And are there some tips and tricks on how that works? Let me just start. I'm going to throw you a curveball that you have no idea is coming. Like, can you think of any of those moments as you were growing up as a kid that you think about, like that was something, that was some ritual, some rhythm that your family did that sticks out in your mind?
Yeah, it wasn't from a coming of age type thing, but there's definitely some traditions that I think were really important and fun, but then I look back and see the importance of it. Like, as an example, every Christmas Eve, my parents would have an open house and we would invite really anybody in the neighborhood and some friends. They still do it. And people would bring, gifts, or they would bring canned foods, items, and we would, host everybody. And then afterwards we get in the car and we go to Must Ministries here, a local nonprofit that helps feed the hungry, and we would donate either clothing or whatever. And so that was something. I can think about some big moments. They typically involved one-on-one time, like either one-on-one trips with my dad or some special time with my mom. But to your point, there wasn't like some big like moment that was like, okay, this has occurred and then now I have, come of age or whatever. But I do think the moments are incredibly powerful. And if we're not intentional as we think about how we use them, then it's a miss as we think about framing kind of childhood for our kids.
There are some that are sticky for me. My parents, like when I was little, my mom could tell me what to wear. She'd make me dress up a lot for church. And my dad was a firefighter, so every 24 hours on, 40 hours off. So every third Sunday, he would not be at our house because he'd be at the fire department. So I can remember as a child swinging by the fire department on our way to church for him to tie my tie. And it's like a visual, it wasn't a big thing, but I remember it. One of the things I talk about in our Addo world when we think about creating a great environment is that culture is created in the small moments, but it's memorialized in the big ones.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's not, you don't create it in the once a year retreat, but those are sometimes the like etched memories in your mind.
I think about, we'll use an experience that might be relevant to many of our listeners. I think we've talked about it before in the podcast, but I think when you're trying to visualize the importance of moments and how meaningful they can be, the Heath Brothers concept of the peak end theory, right? Or the peak end rule. And really, if you guys want to read about it, it's The Power of Moments, the Heath Brothers. It's a fantastic read, but they unpack this concept of the peak end theory, and the way they articulate it, they paint a story about a family at Disney World on vacation. And they kind of talk about, look, like if you ask mom and dad every hour on the hour to rate their experience at Disney World, at Magic Kingdom with a couple little kids, the grade is probably 2, 3, 4 out of 10.
I love the visual imagery because you say like, oh, it's great, but it's like standing in line, 98 degrees, the kid is crying.
Absolutely.
For the third Mickey pop of the day or whatever.
You're waiting 30 minutes to ride It's a Small World. Yeah. It's hot. There's a tantrum.
What they say about It's a Small World, it's like the parents and the kids are both like trying to smile, pretending that, hoping the other one likes it.
But the funny thing, though, which I resonate with because we go to Disney every year, which I'm not going to apologize for, I love it, is when you ask mom, so on the hour, every hour, the average rating is probably somewhere between a 3 out of 10, right? Because of what we just said. You ask them, though, 3 weeks after the trip, and you ask them to rate their vacation, and it's oftentimes a 9 or a 10 out of 10. And what they would reference is, my little one met Cinderella, her favorite princess, or the Mickey Mouse moment, or the fireworks, right? So the concept is the big moments, either the biggest moment, the peak, or the end moment is what people define their experience, or that's what's most memorable. And so they're using this as in a context of a branded experience. You're going, but you can think about it as a dad too. Now that doesn't, you can't be, a deadbeat dad and not show up and then take them to Disney World and you're good. That's not what we're suggesting. But what we are suggesting is if you do the right thing day to day and then you layer in these big moments, you talk about a winning formula, right?
Sometimes I think the deal is not just creating the moments, but marking the moments. Because a lot of times if we don't mark the moment, it passes by unnoticed. It's like it didn't happen. So I'd love us to talk about 5 different areas. One of them is going to be really tough for us because we're not there yet with our kids. You may be close. So let's talk about 5 areas of where we can create milestones. Let's talk about firsts. First. Mm-hmm. First day of school. First time they lost their tooth. First time riding a bike. First time they got on an airplane. Do you guys have any cool first? I know that the tooth fairy in our house gives a lot more money for the first tooth than they do subsequent teeth.
Yeah, sometimes the tooth fairy is not interested after the first tooth. It feels like I think she's forgot the Blumenthal kids. I think they realize, okay, the first one is the only time you get visited, right?
Tooth fairy feels like a lot of pressure.
That's over the tooth fairy.
What other first? Do you mark something first?
Yeah, it's kind of been obviously the first day of school, everyone got the cute pictures. We do a lot, as it relates to maybe not necessarily first, but when we see the kids going the extra mile in terms of preparation for something and then they achieve it, right? Whether that's something as simple as Anderson, our kindergartner the other day, got a 3 out of 3 on something and she was so proud and we made it a huge deal. And we could have just said, great job, Andy. But we took everybody to ice cream and the boys are like, oh my gosh, she's in kindergarten. She colored inside the lines. Shut up. It doesn't matter. But Andy is excited, and she talked about that. You remember when I got a 3 out of 3 and we got ice cream? I think it's great on the first thing. I think there's probably, I'd love to hear if you guys have any, but for us, what kind of the rhythm we've fallen into is when the kids are doing something that we really it's behavior that we have modeled and we want to see, we really go above and beyond and not just celebrate it or maybe go do ice, but also talk about it. This morning I took Benny to school and I was like, man, I'm so proud of you. Last week that A, I'm still talking about it with him because I want him to know how important it is.
I know sitting in the walls of my business that what's celebrated is repeated. But I think what you just said is a good reminder for me at home that not just the behavior we correct, but celebrating those things. And especially when it's the first time they're doing something to set a mile marker and say, this is valuable. This is important. We see you.
Yeah, and I like that also marking the moment. I love that you said that. I hadn't thought about it that way, but that is huge. And, Camden, my oldest, I think I shared this, a year ago on the podcast, we did the birds and the bees thing, which it's awkward.
I think we should do a whole podcast where you explain the birds and the bees. You help people do this.
But I felt like it was important enough to mark. I didn't use that language, but looking back, that's what I did. We went out in the morning and we drove out and we went, it was right before lunch, and we went to Putt Shack in Atlanta and had a whole fun thing because he loves to do that. We went to a restaurant in Atlanta, had lunch. We went to Truist where the Braves play and we got a hotel room and hanging out, walked to the Braves game, spent the night in the hotel. And over the course of that day, we had conversation. It wasn't a sit down, we're going to tell it, but it was a way for me to have a progressive conversation throughout the day, but also to make sure he realized the importance of this topic and what this means. And to me, that was important. And I think he'll remember that probably. Right. Yeah. So
that's good. Okay. So second is transitions, moving from elementary school to middle school are when we talked about rite of passage kind of stuff, one-on-one trips. Our friend Larry Grays, he told me he's about to take his son Gavin, I think it's his youngest now, youngest of 4, is about to be 13. He's taking him on a cruise.
That's the number. Got it.
Our friend Brent Fielder, I think they do 3 trips. They do a 5, 10, and a 15, but it's different for each. Like 5, like we take you here, 10, we go here, and 15, you get to choose. Sometimes I want to be careful because this is not the pressure of like, hey, you got to take your kid on a trip, but it's the intentionality.
Yeah, one thing that I try to do, and honestly, like there's been some months that I haven't been able to, and it's frustrating, but that's just life. Is when the kids turn about 5, I try to do a monthly with each of them. And it could be a walk in the neighborhood. It could be going to get ice cream. It just kind of depends. But the kids really look forward to that. Like we have a lot of other time together, but they know that I'm going to do my best to find time individually with each of them. So that's something easy. That's not a big dollar amount. But it does take some intentionality with 4 to try to figure out when you can do that. But that's one for us. Listen, I think whenever I am home, it's important to me to do bedtime. Like, my oldest is 12, but like he still likes when I come in there and we hang for a minute and say our prayers and talk. Like, I don't want to miss that, right? So I think some of these traditions, to your point, we put pressure. They're not that hard. It doesn't always mean that they're easy to accomplish because we're busy, but there's some things that I would say low-hanging fruit that like, it's right in front of us that we can go do that are meaningful. Because how cool is it going to be like one day for my sons and my daughters to be like, hey, I had this one-on-one time with my dad every month. Or I can remember every night my dad was home, he prayed with us. Like, that's kind of a cool legacy to have.
Okay, first transitions. Coming of age. Okay, I'm not there yet. Your oldest, 12?
He's 12, yeah.
So you're getting close to this. I remember opened with this, David Salyers talking about this, like he didn't feel like as a Christian we had the same rite of passage thing they have in the Jewish world, and felt this like this was a gap. We needed to create this. I think as part of their program they did Champion Tribes, they had a mentor or somebody else speak life into it. We both have younger kids than this, but have you thought about that? Is there something specific?
I was really convicted by this, and David planted the seed. I remember years ago. So for those listening, you guys can Google. It's called Champion Tribes. It's something that David did with his boys, with a community of, I think, some other dads. They kind of tandem taught a curriculum, and they got a group together, and maybe it rotated on who was teaching it. But it was a multi-year kind of walk, and then at the end of it, there was some sort of like ceremony that they had gone through this thing. And I can remember my kids being like 6 and 4 or 7 and 5, and I remember being like, hey, I want to do this one day. And here I am. My oldest is in middle school, and I was really convicted to try to do something, and actually got with a couple dads and said, look, like, we'll write it out, but like middle school for me is this launching pad into high school, right? That not just about your education and what sports and clubs and activities, but man, like you're going to be faced with some really important decisions and choices. And how cool would it be to have a group of guys that are bound together in friendship and community going through that together. And so we created something. We go to Harrison High School, that we're the Hoyas. So the boys have a group. We call it the Hoya Brotherhood, and there's 8 kids. We've met twice now. We meet once a month, and we bring them together. They play ping pong for a while. They mess around, and we sit down and we'll go through a topic, like 15 to 30 minutes, just depending on how chatty they are. But it's a curriculum that's very easy. It's like a Bible verse, but it builds, right? The first one was like, how does God see you? And the next one's going to be around temptation. And it's just amazing. It's these little 6th graders talk about things they're seeing in school. And so that's our version of it. And again, that takes time. I'm not saying that's for everybody, but for us, this is an important moment. I feel that age is really important. So that's how we're thinking about it.
Harrison High School, I'm doing this just for Ryan's sake. Who is the greatest basketball player at Harrison High School history?
Yeah, I don't know about the greatest.
I think it was your younger brother, Ryan. I think
he's not the greatest player.
He's also a good dad. I hope
he's a great dad. He's a good brother. He is
the greatest basketball player in the world.
He's the high scorer. No, I'm not taking that. He's better than me. For sure. I don't want his head to get too big on greatest ever at Harrison. He's the leading scorer, but
All kidding aside, like I am very interested to see how this works and to model after this what you guys are doing, because I think that coming of age thing is important. And by the way, not just for guys, for girls.
for girl, absolutely. There's going to be, and again, don't hear that and be like, well, I can't do that. And that's now I'm stressed and I feel this is something that's important to me. You guys can figure out what that looks like. But I think what I'm encouraging anybody that's listening, and I'm encouraging you, and I try to hold myself accountable. Good enough is not good enough. It's just not. I was having a conversation with a buddy he's trying to take his health a little bit more seriously. And we were having a conversation, and I'm trying to be a mirror for him. And he's got some stuff he got to work on. And he was talking about his results, physical results. He's like, listen, like, I'm in the normal range. And I said, you're in the normal range. Okay, fine. But you're not healthy. You got to be doing better. And by the way, the normal range in the most obese, unhealthy country in the world, is that the standard, right? Is that the standard you want to hold yourself to? And it's no different as dads right now. We can fall into the trap because we look around and we see dads that traditionally haven't stepped up and traditionally aren't as available emotionally, or they're the providers, and that's just how dads are. And I go to my kids' games and I'm around, so I'm doing better than everybody else. But is that good enough?
Poor measuring stick. What is when Horst Schulze from Ritz-Carlton spoke to Chick-fil-A 30 years ago, he told him you're the best of a lousy lot.
That's right.
This is like what you're saying to your friend.
I am, but I'm out of love, and I'm trying to hold everybody that's listening accountable and myself, because it's easy to fall into the trap of, hey man, I'm doing my best. Yeah. And that's good. That's admirable. But at some point, I think this world needs dads that are on fire, and good enough is not on fire. Good enough is lukewarm. Good enough doesn't get it done in terms of what we need in this world. And so when you hear something like, oh my gosh, this person started this little middle school group with his son, I don't have time for that. That's good for him, but not for me. Maybe. But what's your version of it? We got to hold ourselves to a higher standard.
Okay. Moments worth marking. First, transitions, coming of age, achievements. We already talked about this a little bit younger, but this was just convicting to me. When we do a values awards every year for our business, we get people like a personalized video or something. This year we got Wheaties boxes with their face on.
Oh, I love that.
Doing that at work. Why am I not doing that with my kids? Like, why not the same level? We have a couple years ago, people that meant a lot to these individuals recording a video talking about their character and their work. Like, I should do that with my kids. So I think marking achievements. This is an area where we often demonize the things at work. We could take some amazing principles we're learning,
totally
apply them.
Man, I want to like leave the recording and go do some. There's just some of the stuff is just so easy and
What
it's
is
so
example of something
impactful.
you've done, achievement for somebody at work that you could apply to your kids?
I love what you said, video. So I've started, I do once a week, I do a video for my whole organization where I'll just recognize somebody and it's speaking to that person, but I share it a couple times a week, at least. Sometimes it's every day. I'll just send a text message video to somebody, whether I saw something or I was at a meeting. Hey, amazing. I just want you to know how special that was, and text it to them. Like those types of little, I think, I'm a huge believer in encouragement. And I think there's little things that can mean so much for people. I don't do that enough with my kids.
Okay, first, transitions, coming of age, achievements. Last one, hardships. Like, this doesn't feel like a moment worth marking, but we know that when we look back, that those times where we failed or something went wrong are some of our greatest teachers.
Mm-hmm.
Any thoughts about how do you mark those kind of moments? Somebody passes away that you love. How are you intentional about marking that moment with your family?
We've talked about this before, Kev, and I think about you and your journey building Addo here with a lot of great people. I would think, and let me ask you this question, like, can you visualize the moments that almost stopped everything?
No doubt. Yeah.
And you guys have probably had way more great moments than bad, but my guess is those big moments are the ones that you can probably visualize, feel, insert yourself right back into that chair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Resilience is something that our kids can't be given, right, by us, or it's not in our genes. Like, you have to go through experiences, and I think it's actually more important to mark the moments of challenge once you get through them, to go back to remind your kids of that. because they have to remember they can do hard things. They have to remember and be transported back to the time of, oh yeah, that did hurt. And I did work and I got better. Like I can think about, my son not getting into target class all of his buddies did, or not making a baseball team. And even some of the stuff the girls have gone through. Andy's had struggled with seizures, and she's now at an age where she remembers some things, and we'll go back and point back to some of these hard things that she may not remember, but I want her to know that she's strong. And I think we have to mark those. Yeah.
In the Bible, there'd be these moments where they would like gather stones and lay them up as a physical reminder of God's faithfulness in their life.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's something here with this physical piece. So I think these moments are worth marking. Let me ask you this. This is going to come out right before Christmas. Maybe let's close with that. What are there any kind of holiday rhythms, Christmas, end of the year, New Year's, that you guys do?
Brittany is so intentional about this stuff, and so I give her a hard time a lot because it feels like we're packed. But man, the kids, I can just they're already even talking about it now, about how excited they are for the things. But we have a couple very special things that we do every year. Waffle House dinner, and go see Christmas lights in this one spot in Atlanta, the Lights of Life. That's a big one for us. We do a kind of a night where we play games, reindeer games in the house, and make hot chocolate and watch Home Alone. I mean, again, a lot of these things are not like exponential in terms of the financial investment, but there's something that we've done every year, and the kids will do it.
This every year.
It is.
I think that's a piece of this is, and you may have kids that are 13, 14, and you're like, I haven't done it. Well, start this year. Pick
Absolutely.
one thing and do it this year. And some of it is this is marking the moment. Some of it is you just have to say it out loud. Like, it may be the first time you do it, but this is our new tradition.
Absolutely.
Like,
Dude,
this
totally.
year, we're starting a new tradition. And every year on Christmas Eve, we're going to do fill in the blank.
Absolutely.
Laura is much better at that than I am. And I think just like this is what we do. We do these things every year. And I think kids will remember that.
They absolutely will. I love this topic, Kev. I think you did a good job of trying to think through some things that are practical in this conversation. And I guess if you're listening to this, and for me, the takeaway is like, figure out how you can amplify moments, how you can create moments that are going to be memories and ultimately build a legacy for you and your family. But don't disqualify yourself from this. Like, to your point, it's never too late. And this is not something that is contingent on a certain financial level. Like, that's not there. Don't disqualify yourself. Go do it.
I like it. It's good advice. Hope you guys have a great Christmas. We'll see you in 2026.
Thanks for listening to Legacy Makers with Kevin Scott and Eric Blumenthal. Make sure you download and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
This podcast is a production of BG Ad Group. All rights reserved.